last gate question. Okay. I said that correct tangents limit will be equal to so all these parameters into enginne's limits. Okay, so enginne's limits in reversed stresses or reversed cyclic stresses. Now K corresponding to, like, K value will be higher or more towards 1 if higher is the surface finish. Okay, KB is corresponding to smaller size, so we expect size to be smaller. KC is corresponding to, what is KC here? Fourth one is less stress concentration, and third one is reliability of experiments. Understood? So we expect higher surface finish, we expect smaller size, we expect higher reliability in the experiments, we expect lesser stress concentration. Understand? Now, this question is all about this one and this one, right? In the question, it's written that engineer's limit of a beam subjected to pure bending decreases. So they are expecting this value to decrease. This value should decrease means these effects should decrease, because better are these effects, higher is the value of SC dash here. So these effects should decrease here. Let's check an option which is decreasing these effects. If you check the option number A, I'll write down in these meanings here. Decrease in surface roughness. Decrease in surface roughness means higher surface finish. And second part is decrease in size of the component, so smaller size. Okay, so we expect opposite to these two effects here, but the option number A is same as the contributing factors here. So this will not decrease engineer's limit but increase the engineer's limit there. So this is not correct. Option B, if you check, increase in surface roughness. Increase in surface roughness means lower surface finish, and decrease in size of the beam means smaller size. Okay, so here both should get reversed, but only this one got reversed here, so this option is also not right. Okay, so both should be reversed. So here both are same, here only one of them is reversed, so that will not be the correct answer here. Let's come to option number D first, then we come to C later. Decrease in surface roughness. So decrease in surface roughness means again higher surface finish and increase in size of the beam. So increase means larger size. Okay, so here we see this effect will not help you to decrease the engineer's limit here. Here this effect will not, but this effect will help you. Okay, only one effect here. So here this effect will not help you, but this effect will help you here, larger size, because we expect smaller size to be there, but here we are giving larger size. Now, if you check the option number C, increase in surface roughness. So increase in surface roughness means lower surface finish, and second part is increase in size of the beam. Increase in size of the beam means larger size. So lower surface finish, larger size, both are opposite of this higher surface finish and smaller size respectively. So these two contribute to engineer's limit, these two decrease the value of engineer's limit. So the correct answer is actually C here, because both are contributing. Understood? Clear now? Okay, now let's come to the next one. Design for infinite life. Designing for infinite life means we are expecting the component to have infinite life. We are expecting the component to never ever fail at all. So if that is the case, the only option we have is, in reversed cases, stress amplitude should be less than endurance limit. If stress amplitude is less than endurance limit, the component will have infinite life. If stress amplitude is more than endurance limit, then we have finite life. So designing for infinite life means you have to keep this stress amplitude less than endurance limits. Understood? That is the only answer for this one. Clear, everybody? Understood? So now take this question, get the answer. So we are starting with a very simple question. Then we'll slowly increase the level. Yeah. So this 196 megapascal is the right answer. Okay. Or 195.6 is also still the right answer here. So very simple question. They're asking that fatigue life of a material for a fully reversed loading condition is estimated from sigma A is equal to 1100 n power of minus 0.15. That means they're given stress amplitude and number of cycles variation. So stress amplitude is in megapascal and n is a failure life in cycles. The maximum allowable stress amplitude for a life of 10 power of 5 cycles under the same loading condition is. Simply they are giving number of cycles and expecting you to get the value of stress amplitude. They have given you the formula and they are expecting us to use the formula. That's it. Very simple question here. Substitute this 10 power of 5 in the particular formula here. So sigma A is nothing but sigma A is nothing but 1100 into n, that is 10 power of 5 power of minus 0.15. Understand? So if you just put in the calculator, you'll be getting the answer for this. Understood, everybody? Clear? If you still want to simplify, you can do like this: 1100 by 10 power of 5 power of 0.15. So this is nothing but 1100 by 10 power of 5 into 0.15. This is nothing but 15 5s are 75. So 10 power of 0.75, 3 by 4. Or 0.75, you can keep it still. So you just put this thing in calculator. Understand? So you can get the answer. The answer should come out to be 195.6 or around 196 megapascal it should come. So you'll be getting answer directly in megapascal because in the question they already told that sigma A is in megapascal. Clear? Understood? Come on, take this question. So this question you have to copy. So this is based upon the SN curve we have discussed. So you guys copy the question, take the data correctly and get the answer. So it's all about just doing the mathematical calculation correctly. There is nothing difficulty or conceptual or something tricky in terms of concept here. Come on guys, thank you. So I'll show you a few steps here which will make you, which can help you to solve the question in a smart way. So you can remove some unnecessary steps. You can do the calculations easily. So kindly just look here, everybody. So I know that if I'm giving another 5 more minutes, you can get the answer. But just please listen to my solution here. It's given that a cylindrical shaft is subject to an alternating stress of 100 megapascal. So alternating stress of 100 megapascal means they mean sigma max is 100, sigma minimum is equal to minus 100 megapascal. Understood? So this is the meaning of the first statement. Next, fatigue strength to sustain 1000 cycles is 490 megapascal. So if you draw the SN curve here, it will be like this. This is log n. This will be log stress amplitude. The curve will be like this. So for sustaining 1000 cycles means obviously here 3. Okay. So for this, the stress magnitude is equal to 490 megapascal. So log of 490 megapascal. Understand? So if you take this particular point, so you can take this as x1, y1, and if the corrected endurance strength is 70 megapascal. So here, this one is 70 megapascal here. So log of 70 megapascal. And this is nothing but 6. We know that for steel specimen it's going to be 6. So we know x2 value and also y2 value. So estimated shaft life will be, okay, so they are saying it is 100 megapascal. This gives you sigma A as 100 megapascal and sigma mean is equal to 0. So for 100 megapascal, so 100 will come between 490 and 70. So somewhere else here. Okay. So this is, you take it as second point, this is third point here. So you know, this is second point, this is the third point here, x3 and y3. So this is log of 100 megapascal. Okay. So you guys know how to take the slope. Slope is nothing but y3 minus y1 by x3 minus x1 is equal to y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. y3 minus y1 means y is nothing but these values here. Log of y3 is 100 megapascal. 100 megapascal minus log of 490 megapascal y1 whole by x3 minus x1. We had to get this value here. So let's assume this is some log of n. Understand? We have to get this value of number of cycles. So this is log of 10 power 3 and this is log of 10 power 6 actually. So x3 minus x1. x3 minus x1 is equal to log of n minus x1 is equal to it is nothing but log of 10 power 3. So here it will become y2 minus y1. So I'm directly putting it here. So this will become anyways 3. So y2 minus y1. So y2 minus y1 means difference of stress 70 and 490. So log of 70 megapascal minus log of 490 megapascal whole by x2 minus x1. So x value is here. So this is log 10 power of 6, that is 6, minus log 10 power of 3, that is 3 here. Okay. So this becomes, this value becomes 3 itself. Okay. So here if you see the numerator, I am doing one step here, everybody. Listen carefully, which can save your time, unnecessarily writing down here. Log of 100 megapascal. So megapascal means, if you had to put in SI unit, it should be 100 into 10 power of 6 Pascal, right? So log of AB is there. Log of A is 100, B is 10 power of 6. Log of AB, which is nothing but log A plus log B, right? Log of 100 Pascal plus log of 10 power of 6 Pascal. Able to understand? Log of 100 megapascal can written as log of 100 Pascal plus log of 10 power of 6 Pascal. And minus sign here 490 megapascal means minus of log of 490 plus log of 10 power of 6 Pascal. So 10 power of 6 from here, log 10 power of 6 from here, log 10 power of 6 from here will get cancelled because negative sign is there. Understand? So this will become eventually log of 100 Pascal minus log of 490 megapascal. Or log of 100 Pascal minus log of 490 Pascal. Understand everybody? Are you able to understand what I am saying? Okay, if you want to still save some more amount of time, simplest way is you see log A minus of log B. So log A minus log B is nothing but log A by B. So this becomes log of 100 by 490. Both are in the same unit, so you can take directly here. We don't need to put 10 power of 6 here. This by log of n minus log of 10 power of 3. So this becomes log of n by 10 power of 3 here. You can put in this way instead of replacing by 3. Okay. So here if you put, this is log of 70 by 490 by 3 here. Understood? So if you do the simplification, 0, 0 will go. So 7 ones are 7 sevens are. Okay. So log of 1 by 7. Understood? So all you have to do is do the calculation. So you take this thing that side. So 3 log of 10 by 40 whole by log of 1 by 7 is equal to log of n by 10 power of 3. This implies this n is nothing but, okay, you have to get this value, whatever it is there. Let's assume this as p. Okay, you will be getting this value here. So n is equal to 10 power of 3 into e power p. 10 power 3 into e power p. You have to get the value of p here. So that comes out to be C. N will come out to be C here. 28194 cycles here. Clear? Corrected endurance strength is the experimental one. Cylindrical shaft. Okay. Here if you see this question, they are saying that cylindrical shaft is subject to alternating stresses. Alternating stress means reverse type of cyclic stress itself. Okay. So when you are comparing the member which has undergone reverse stress with reverse stress itself, then the endurance limit at the time of testing is same as corrected endurance limits. Understand? If you are comparing reverse type of cyclic stress condition with some other type of loading condition, then both will be different. Understood? So whether though it is given in the question as corrected endurance strength or corrected endurance limit, it is same as simple endurance limit itself. So this is how you have to solve it. Just the step here. Okay, either you can go with the megapascal removal or directly take log of A minus log B is equal to this thing here, you can get the answer. So here it is log of 1 by 7, okay, and this is log of 10 by 40. Okay, so other simpler step is, to make it simpler, what you can do is here, this thing can be written as log of A by B can be written as minus log of B by A. Okay, so if you reverse this thing, reverse 10 by 40 as 40 by 10, negative sign will come. When you reverse 1 by 7 as 7, negative sign will come. Negative sign will go. So you will get the answer as 3 log of 4 by log of 7 is equal to log of n by 10 power of 3. Understood? So simply you can put log 10, log 4, log 7 and can get the value of P very easily. So this will become P here. So here this n will become 10 power of 3 into e power of t. So it will become easy to get the value of P. You don't need to put these fractions in the calculator. Simply put log 4, log base 10 4, you'll get the answer. Log base 10 7, you'll get the answer. So take the ratio, multiply by 3 and put it e power of P and multiply by 1000, you'll get the answer. Like that, you just have to find out the smart approach. Okay, so when you are doing smartly, then only you can stay ahead. You can cut to the competition. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult. Clear? So when you do practice, as you are doing for the first time, you will not be having those many number of ideas. Okay, but when you are going on solving questions, as you are going on, once you are going on solving questions from test series, you can inculcate those smart approaches and you can try. Clear? Log of 10 by 40. It can be written as minus log 40 by 10. 40 by 10 is nothing but log 4, right? I remove the 0. Is not right? Acha, 49. Fine. Okay, it is 49. So 10 by 49. So you can write it as 4.9 here. Log 4.9. Now it is clear, I guess. Yeah. Log 4.9. Thank you. Thank you, Ranjit. So you can take this question as homework. Okay. So kindly copy the question and just take the screenshot of the question. We'll go with the next one after this. So the only difference between this question and the next question is, in this question they are asking for number of cycles. In the next question they are asking for stress amplitude. That's the only difference here. Okay, kindly copy everyone, or just take the screenshot. We'll go with the next one. Kindly just take the screenshot, make it fast. There are some excellent questions, excellent level questions in this chapter. We should have time, should be saving time for each and every question. Yeah, thank you. So let's go ahead. So we are done with the design for reverse type of cyclic stresses, and we understood how to evaluate the value of endurance limit. And based upon the endurance limit we evaluated for reverse stresses, we can get the endurance limit for other normal loading conditions also, using the formula that SE dash is equal to Ka into Kb into Kc into Kd into Se. Now we are going with the next one, that is fluctuating stresses. So the same, whatever the procedure we are using for this fluctuating stresses is valid for repeated stresses as well, because there is much difference. There is very less amount of difference. So in fluctuating stresses, you will be having sigma minimum as non-zero. In repeated stresses, sigma minimum is equal to 0. That's the only difference here. That's it. Okay. So let's look into this. Kindly put the title, everyone. Okay. So in the designing for reverse stresses, we were dealing with only sigma amplitude, because sigma mean was 0. So we are always concerned with only sigma amplitude. But whereas in fluctuating stresses, there is sigma mean value and also sigma amplitude value. So you should be taking care of both of them. Understand? So fortunately here there is no mathematical complicatedness. So it is very easy to apply here. Okay, simply by using the graph you can get the answer, or simply by using the formula you can get the answer. So here what we are going to do is, in designing for fluctuating stresses, we are going to use sigma mean and also sigma amplitude. We should be using both the values because there is staticness in the loading, there is dynamicness also in the loading here. That's the reason why we have to use it. Understand? Whereas in the reverse stresses, there was only dynamicness. There was no staticness because sigma mean was 0. Clear? So we'll be using both of them. So what you should be doing is, you should plot sigma mean along x-axis, sigma A along y-axis. So sigma mean takes care of staticness of the load. So we should be taking SYT and also SUT. I'm plotting both of them because when we have a brittle material, we'll be taking SUT. When you have a ductile material, we'll be taking SYT. Okay. Now, this is SYT here. Just for our reference, I'm keeping it here. So, strength in dynamic loading will become Engine's limit, which should be less than strength in static loading. So, whether you take SYT or SUT, it should be less than this. Okay. So, SC value should be less than SYT and also SUT here. Now, different curves are there. So, different curves will be joining between different points. Okay. So, what they say? For example, first curve is there, that is called as this Soderberg curve. The Soderberg curve will be between these 2 points here. The Soderberg curve will be between these 2 points here. So what Soderberg is saying, or the scientist who has given the line was saying that if sigma mean, sigma amplitude values of the particular loading are below this particular line, that means they are in this region, then your component will remain same. So this component will be safe. If they are outside this line, they will not be safe. How he is saying? Look here. If you take any point inside this region, that will be corresponding to, look here everybody, I am taking an arbitrary point here. This will be corresponding to a sigma mean which is less than SYT. This will be corresponding to a sigma amplitude which is less than SE here. So this is having stress which is less than strength in static loading, which is less than strength in dynamic loading as well. So that is how they decided that the material not going to be safe. If it is outside this line, let's assume this point here. Let's assume this particular point here. So if you take this particular points, you see here is having less than this particular strength in static loading, less than strength in dynamic loading also, but based upon the dependency between means the relation between, or dependence in the sense like the material will be behaving, okay, the material will be behaving with respect to both static loading and also dynamic loading. That's the reason why based upon that he took an optimized decision that this should be beyond that particular line. So ideally speaking, you should be taking a square or you should be taking a rectangle. You insert the rectangle, everything should be safer because whatever point you take inside the rectangle, that will be having less than SYT and also SE there. But that is not the way in which the metals are behaving. So he started with that particular step and then he reached this particular step here. So he given this optimization here. Understood? So after optimizing, he made this particular line here. Understood everybody? Red parts. Okay, Saurabh, what I was saying was, we expect that we see that outside this particular line, this particular red point is having sigma mean less than SYT, sigma A also less than SE here. That means the sigma A and sigma mean and sigma A both are less than strength in static loading and also strength in dynamic loading, right? That is, they are less than SYT and SE respectively. But that is not the way in which it is decided completely. Okay, so he started from taking a rectangle, because if you take a rectangle, this will be in safer condition here. Then he checked by experiments whether it is completely valid or not, whether whatever he is expecting theoretically on this particular graph is being satisfied in the experimental setup or not. So like that he went on deciding, like decreasing this area and came to the condition that if we take the straight line between SC and SY and if the points are above this particular line, though their sigma mean and sigma amplitude values will be less than SYT and SC respectively, still they're going to be not safe. They will be safe only when they are below the line. So blue color points are safer and red color points are not at all safer. Clear everyone? Why SYT on y-axis? Abhimanyu, I just written SYT for your reference. I would like to show that SYT, that means SE value should be less than SYT. So whatever the length I took for SYT I taken here and I shown that SE is less than SYT here. That's it. you're not going to see any physical significance of SYT on y-axis or sigma A axis here. So everybody clear about this? So don't think that completely that sigma means sigma amplitude should be less than SYT. That means you should not go with the condition that sigma A should be less than SE and sigma M should be less than SYT. Okay, this is not the condition here. If you are going with this condition, you'll be getting a rectangle. Instead of this straight line like this, you'll be getting a rectangle like this, which is not the correct approach. So Soderberg has done this research. He started from here only, and from there he came to the experimental, based upon experimental results, he concluded that so you should not be going with this rectangular region here, you should be going with this triangular region here. Understand everyone? Okay. So now let's see, or let's find out the condition, that means mathematical condition which is depicting this particular condition or the graph here. Okay. So we have understood that if a point sigma mean, sigma amplitude values are lying on this line or outside the line, I should be actually putting this line with the red color, because on the line also will be having failure. Okay, so on the line or above the line or outside the line, it will experience failure. So first of all, let's take the equation of this line here. How to get the equation of this line? Why did red point lead to a failure? Kumar Vishesh, I told you that though they may be less than SYT and SE here, that is not the ideal approach, or that is not the ideal way in which the things are turning out, or you can expect not to experience failure by thinking theoretically based upon this diagram here. But when you do the experiments, you will understand that the failure is going to happen. That is what the Soderberg did. Soderberg come to or given this particular line by doing the experiments. He took all the points outside this line, he took inside the rectangle. Okay, so whatever the way in which you are thinking, and he understood that this is not satisfying the experiment, so he came up with this line here. So he understood that, or he came to know from his experiments that if the points sigma mean, sigma A are on the line or above the line, outside the line, the failure will happen, otherwise not. Clear now? As far as SWARM machine design is concerned, we take the results from the experiment directly. Understand? As far as material science manufacturing is concerned, so whatever is being shown by the experiments or whatever the behavior is shown by the material, it can be evaluated by understanding at the microstructure level. So as we don't study at microstructure level for SWARM and machine design, we can't say based upon, that means why the experimental result is coming up. We just, like the approach we maintain or we follow in SWARM and machine design is, we have some result using calculations. Okay, so we say that like this metal should have this amount of density for this particular value of load. So by applying this amount of load, we can change the density. Theoretically, this is coming up to be like this. So whether it is really possible or not, because whatever we write down on the paper, that may not be completely feasible in practical scenario. So for example, you take projectile motion. So I say that projectile motion, if it is having a initial velocity of u, it is inclined at an angle of theta, it will having a range of 2u square, something like that. Okay, but that may not be true in real life scenario, because wind friction will come. So there will be always a difference between the theoretical or ideal solution with respect to practical solution. But in SWARM machine design, will not be, like, we don't think about why the experiment is giving us the result like that. What is happening in the microstructure? All these things are dealt in subject of material science, because it's very, very complicated thing. Understood? So if you would like to know about any point, if you would like to know the point on the line, it is very easy here, because if you have a straight line which is plotted between xy axis. So let's assume this intersection is a comma 0, this intersection is 0 comma b, then it is given as x by a plus y by b is equal to 1. So I hope you people know equation of the line in this form is called as intercept form. Intercept form of straight line equation. Okay, so here if you compare this line with respect to that line, x is nothing but sigma mean, y is nothing but sigma a is nothing but syt, b is nothing but se is equal to 1. Understood? So if you would like to show any point on the line, you should be using equality sign. If you would like to show any point outside the line, you should be showing greater than sign. So if it is this thing, it is gonna fail. Okay, so strictly speaking, failure will happen for this condition. Safer condition will be there if sigma mean by syt plus sigma a by se is less than 1. So this is safer condition. So you expect sigma mean, sigma a values to be in such a way that they are satisfying this condition. Less than symbol should come. Okay, if they are coming equality or greater than sign, that means failure will happen. Understood? Clear everybody? Any doubt here? So this is what the formula given by Soderberg. Okay, kindly copy this one. Put this title Soderberg line and copy this thing here. All you have to do is just use the formula. Very easy concept. Does all points on y-axis corresponds to reversed loading? Anurag Gaurav, we are no longer studying about reversed loading or reversed cyclic stresses. We are studying about fluctuating stresses. We'll be having sigma mean and also sigma amplitude. Understand? So if you have y-axis, if you take only y-axis, okay, so if you'll be dealing with only y-axis when sigma mean is 0 only, that will be reverse type of cyclic stresses. So there you don't need to draw the graph at all. All you have to do is simply check whether sigma A is less than SE or not. If it is less than SE, it will be safer. If it is more than SE, it will fail after some time. Definitely it will be having some finite life. That's it. Okay, so everyone, please pay attention here. We are just doing the last step for the Soderberg line and then we'll go ahead with the next line. So remaining lines are very similar to this Soderberg line. So there is nothing extra to learn from there. Everybody look here. So when we are designing with respect to the strengths of the material, then the formula will come like this. Okay. So mostly will be concerned regarding critical condition itself. That is, will be taking equal to 1 itself. Okay. So we have studied about one concept called as factor of safety. So where I said factor of safety value is nothing but failure stress by allowable stress. Factor of safety is given as failure stress by allowable stress. So here we dealt with failure stress. Failure stress is nothing but strength of the material, whether it is static loading or dynamic loading. So instead of failure stress, if you are dealing with allowable stress, then we should be putting like this. So we have allowable stress formula is equal to nothing but failure stress by factor of safety. So it is nothing but failure stress by factor of safety. Understood? So whatever you are using, instead of using SYT, you should be using SYT by factor of safety. So when you take factor of safety, N will be coming in the denominator here. Understood? So when you are taking factor of safety, actually in the graph already SYT by N will be there, SUT by N will be there, SE by N will be there. Okay, so sigma mean by SYT by N, sigma A by SE by N is equal to 1. So from this we will get that N will be going to the numerator. You will get that the formula as sigma mean by SYT plus sigma A by SE is equal to 1 by N. So sometimes they will be asking you for factor of safety as well. The only difference is when you are taking factor of safety, you are designing with respect to allowable stress. When you are not having factor of safety or N is equal to 1, means you are designing with respect to the failure stress itself. That's the only difference here. Understood everybody? Clear? So if it is done, let's go with the next one, Goodman line. So only difference is in the place of SYT, you will have SUT here for Goodman line. Kindly make it fast everyone. Ipsita, I told you that factor of safety is failure stress by allowable stress. From this formula I am evaluating allowable stress. So this is the formula without N. Okay, this is the formula when you are designing with respect to failure stresses, SYT and SE. Understood? So when you are designing with respect to allowable stresses, like the graph will be like this, sigma mean, this is SYT by N. So this is SE by N. So I am taking factor of safety here, sigma A, sigma M here. The line is like this. So equation of this line is equal to sigma mean by SYT by N plus sigma A by SE by N, whatever I have written here. Understood? So this is without factor of safety, this is with factor of safety. That's why the N will come. I just derived this equation here. Clear now?